Hi guys. I literally just recorded, but I muted myself, so beginning mistakes. Right. So today's video is about privilege. That's what I want to talk about and why I'm doing this. This is the first to a longer mini series, I hope. My name is Wei Lie. You can also call me Cutfish. That's easier to remember. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I've always wanted to share my thoughts. I have a lot of those, just like you, and I also want to use this as practice to speak up more, to post more content. I'm an artist, but I don't post content, so this is where I start. Right. So today's topic is about privilege, right? Like I mentioned. And I'm going to split this into two parts. One is recognizing your own privilege, and two is how to deal with people who do not recognize their privilege, because that pisses a lot of people off. It pisses me off. Yeah, so first step, recognizing your own privilege. Well, you might be thinking, what is this man saying, right? I don't have privilege, I'm poor. The world owes me. Okay, you probably won't think that, but subconsciously it is definitely a plausible option. Right, so first you have to identify your own privilege, right? That is an important thing to do. This is because you don't want to end up sounding tone deaf, and when that happens, people will hate you. Believe me. Um, you know, so I've watched this YouTube channel called Doobie Doo Bap. She's a cooking channel on YouTube, and she also likes to talk about her life, right? She's like a 22 year old influencer or something like that. And on one video, she talked about how rich her friends are and how she has less riches essentially compared to them. And but the funny thing is, she is rich herself. Both her parents are dentists or something, and she's like traveling around Europe. So yeah, very tone deaf, and yeah, she recognized that afterwards and apologized for it, but the damage was done. So it is important, especially for people who want to show their face online, share their thoughts online, to not be tone deaf. Otherwise, you will actually get witch hunted, and your life, I don't know, you're gonna be not a very good person to hang out with. Essentially, it's very grating to have someone like that beside you. Yeah. So therefore, I hope that convinces you on why you should recognize your privilege. Well, I'll start as an example to show you how this is done. Okay, so personally, as you can tell, I'm a Chinese male living in Singapore. So Singapore is already a privilege, right, to live in such a safe country. So that's one thing I recognize. And being a Chinese male, Chinese is the dominant race, right? So it gives me a lot of social mobility, a lot of freedom, a lot of connections, or opportunities to make connections, right? So it's easy for me to make friends, you know. It matters actually. So you have to know that. And as a male, obviously, I get patriarchal benefits, right? So people expect male to do well financially. They expect us to chase success. So we get into more positions where we get opportunities to get those stuff, right? It is true. It is true. And the patriarchy obviously benefits males more, right? There are a lot of invisible stuff going on, a lot of stuff. If I have the time to make a video about the patriarchy, I will, but for now, just suspend your disbelief. Believe me when I say the world is a patriarchy right now. So that's my privilege, right? And on the flip side, I do not have privilege in some areas. Like, I'm from a lower to middle income family. We are a family of five living on our father's wage, about 4,000 plus SGD per month, and a family of five, right? And also we have a uncle living with us. We used to have like 8 people living with us, but no, sorry, 8 in total. But that's another story, right? So 6 of us, and my mom's a housewife. So yeah, we live in a HDB and stuff like that. So that I recognize as well. So it is important to know where you're privileged in and where you're not, because these are areas that when you understand, then you set yourself up for uh to basically you have to play towards your strengths, right, and to cover your weaknesses. So As you can tell, I'm in universities. This is my dorm room, so that is also a hallmark of privilege. Being able to make it to tertiary education, being able to get a proper education to, be able to reach this stage in my life. So I'm really thankful for that, and this is what I mean by recognizing your privilege, right? Well, that's it. Remember when I said people should not so one is recognizing your privilege, and the second is to how to deal with people who do not, right? So people who don't understand their privilege for example, those guys who don't know they live in a patriarchy and think that being a woman is much easier in this world and time and age, because they have like cheat ways to success, like OnlyFans or influencers, social media, etc. So also they get like support in their careers by when they need help, things like that. But the idea is that if they need help in the first place, doesn't that mean there's already a problem? That's why they need help. In a lot of times, males don't need to seek help in terms of like career progression and stuff, simply because they don't need to. That there are no major roadblocks, right? But that's another story. Like I mentioned, is a tough topic to get into. Um, yeah. So how to deal with people who don't, right? So believe me, in university, there's a lot of them, a lot of rich people, right? They don't see their privilege, and it is okay, it is understandable, because if they live sheltered lives, nobody told them they have privilege, right? They assume people better than them have privilege and they don't, right? Same as us, we do that too. And it is so aggravating for people below them, obviously, like you, me, or but the thing is, there are people who are worse, right? There are people who cannot afford to eat, and that is where recognizing privilege is so important, because if you don't, you'll sound tone deaf as fuck, and also you trigger a lot of people. Nobody would want to hang out around you because of how pompous you are. It happens, right? Like, I'm sure you can relate to that. So how do we deal with people like that is to understand that it is okay to be mad. I get mad all the time when people just are super insensitive, right? But it is not okay to stay mad. In recognizing why they feel this way, they feel like they don't have privilege, and like they're suffering like the rest of us. Well, you gotta remember that humans like to be underdogs, right? They like to consider themselves worse than average, and I'm pretty sure that happens for even rich people. They always want more. We're greedy as hell, right? As the human race. So in understanding that, you see where they're really coming from. I take pity on them more than I hate them, because ignorance is not a choice, right? So I take pity on them. I don't hate them for saying stuff like that. I'll get angry, but eventually you just have to move on, because they're not gonna come to that conclusion. But one thing you could do is to help your friends, educate your friends, tell your friends why this is wrong. If you really care for them, yeah, tell them why that's wrong, and in any case, hopefully they change for the better. In any case, that's the keyword. But if they don't, then it is really a situation where you have to go, it is what it is, right? The most important thing is, of course, to focus on yourself, to focus on where you're going. And to do that, you have to recognize what privilege you have and what you don't, so that you can exploit your strengths and cover your weaknesses. Also, you should also try to leverage the success of others, of people more privileged, to give you access to places you don't. So that in itself is essentially the life hack if you want to move up a social class. It is my belief that as human beings in our 100 years of life or less, the best we could do is one social class up. We ascend one social class up on average, and if you're lucky, maybe 2 or 3, but most likely one, right? It is, well, just generational. It takes time to grow wealth. It takes time to move on, essentially. If you're poor right now, I doubt you can live a rich lifestyle in the next year. Yeah. So abuse that. make friends with people who have privilege. You gotta tolerate them, you gotta understand them, you gotta grow to love them, and yeah, all the best in your life from there, right? So that's 10 minutes, and I will cut this video here. Yep, see you.